Hey everybody, I am here in St. Charles at a place close to where I live. It's called St. Charles Main Street, and I'm gonna upload this video to my Scarefest YouTube channel because I like new attractions. I love museums. I love anything that has anything to do with like learning about the past. But I'm also uploading this video to our Haunt World channel for the haunted house industry, because you know they've been complaining that when you're on Washington Street there's not a whole lot to do. Well, St. Louis is a beautiful city and you have to get off of Washington Street, and that's why we're here. And we did another video about Main Street here. It's the most beautiful place you've ever seen. It's like an old river town, and it's all like so beautiful. There's restaurants, there's shops, and there's things to do. And today we're going to explore one of these places of things to do right here on St. Charles Main Street, and it's the Soda Museum and an arcade. And we're gonna go in there and take a little tour through it. If you like roadside attractions, I mean, this place is amazing, and it's right here on Main Street. And let's take a look at Main Street. I don't know how many miles long it is, but you can see St. Charles Main Street is, I don't even know, like 3 miles long. Do you see how far that goes down? I mean, it's far, okay? And there's restaurants, there's bars, and the river is over there. And you can see all these like really cool old buildings and there's restaurants everywhere. There's honky tonks, and you can see there's like coffee shops, tons of restaurants and places to shop. And you can see right in there, it's another bar restaurant. One of my favorite restaurants is down here called Tony's on Main. But this is an incredible place, and I don't know if you can see it, but right next door to this is probably St. Louis's best casino. And there's also a Dave & Buster's close by. But look at this place. And it is dark and is at nighttime. There's an escape room here. I've never been to it. All the way down on the end, there's not a trampoline place, but a rock climbing place that is off the chain. It's like gigantic. Probably St. Louis's biggest rock climbing. Somebody recently opened a honky tonk here. And then right here is the Coca-Cola, well, it's the Soda Museum and arcade. And then right next door is my favorite Italian restaurant in town called Tony's. But look at this place. This is freaking humongous. And it just opened right here in St. Louis. And look at this window display here. And look at that is a really cool neon sign. But do you remember the old days of going, well, if you're my age, you went window shopping in the stores, and they would always have these displays. And look at this big old Santa Claus display. And we're gonna go in here and we're gonna check it out. And when you're in St. Louis and you want to get off of Washington Street, if you're visiting for a convention, you come over here to St. Charles Main Street. It's about 10 minutes from the airport, and it's right off the highway. And it's called St. Charles Main Street. On the other side of the highway is another bar, restaurant, place where there's hotels and everything, and that's called St. Charles, Streets of St. Charles. They have Brazilian steakhouses, they have all kinds of fancy restaurants, and everything is nice. Everything is nice. But today, we want to explore this Coca-Cola Museum, and here's their hours right here. You can see it says the Soda Museum and Main Street Arcade. And you can see they're open every single day. And we're gonna come in here and look at all this stuff. And hello. Now, you're the owner?
I am.
Curator.
All the above.
Okay, so I have a question for you. And I was talking to you a little bit earlier. How in the world did you come up with the idea of doing this? And I would consider this, do you consider this like a roadside attraction?
Pretty much, yeah. It's a unique idea. There's a few museums out there that are dedicated to soft drink history, but this is one that's dedicated to all the major drinks. We're not owned by any particular company, so we can be honest about all their histories.
If you're a big fan of like doing Route 66, going from Chicago all the way to, it ends at the theme park over there on
Right.
What is it called? The beach, it's the pier, Santa Monica Pier, where they filmed Lost Boys. That's where Route 66, for anybody who doesn't know, ends, okay? This is the kind of attraction you'd want to stop and see if you're trying to do Route 66. Am I wrong?
And we're not far off Route 66, but our roads are even older than Route 66 was. So we're here in downtown St. Charles, and we've been here since the 1800s. This building was here in 1896. And it just got a massive facelift.
And how many square feet is this place?
17,511 to be exact.
Holy smokes. And how long did it take you to acquire all of these artifacts?
I've been collecting since I was 10 years old, and I'm 39 now, or 49 now, so 39 years.
And what gave you the idea to like open this?
I've always wanted to share my dream of opening a museum and sharing all these great old artifacts with others.
And for those people who don't understand, and I was trying to explain a little bit, St. Charles Main Street is probably like one of the coolest places in St. Louis to visit. I don't know how long this street is, but...
It's right at a mile. It's the largest historic district west of the Mississippi.
Wow, and this is where Lewis and Clark, took off. And there's also like a museum here of boats and stuff like that.
There is, right down on the riverfront.
And there's all kinds of special events here. And this is really like the perfect place to open this. I mean, is this the only place you considered?
It is. I was born and raised here in St. Charles, and so I always knew that I wanted to do something here close to home and for the folks of St. Charles.
And how long did it take you to build it?
I bought the building in April of 21, so it was 2 years and 8 months of renovations. The building was in very, very, very bad shape. And I did the renovations myself and hired out a few things, and here we are today.
So you just recently opened, and how's the reception been?
It's been great. We opened the 1st of December, and December is a very big month in downtown St. Charles. We have lots of festivals going on, and so there's hundreds of thousands of people every weekend that come down here, and so it was very crowded. What
are the kinds of things, I mean, we can walk around and see it, but like what are the kinds of things that people will see when they come here?
So, I mean, the first thing that you see when you walk in the door is this sign. This sign came from Elizabeth City, North Carolina. It was on the outside of a Coca-Cola bottler there. In the 1980s, they took the sign down, and when they sold the building, and they just threw it down on the ground and buried it in dirt and planted grass over it, making sure it would go away.
And how'd you get it?
Well, a friend of mine bought the building in 2018, and he was cutting the grass, and he noticed that he chipped up a corner of a square-shaped rock.
That would be right here?
Yeah, and he realized that nothing in nature is square, and so something had to be man-made, and he went to dig it up, and lo and behold, he found pieces of this sign, and eventually found the entire sign underground.
You know what I really found interesting was that you have back, like when you watch a movie like Christmas Story,
right,
everything was about like window dressing,
right,
and showing what the new toys are and stuff. And you've got like this amazing Santa Claus display. Is that something like, because Christmas is over, obviously, it's January of this filming. Is that something like you're going to be constantly updating and changing?
Yeah, the window box there right now, we're still in a little bit of Christmas mode, but I would say within the next 2 to 3 weeks that'll be coming down. The next display is actually kind of being previewed here. It's going to be frozen Coca-Cola and frozen drinks as we go through the frozen months of January and February.
That is so freaking cool. Like, where would you find something like that?
Anywhere. I mean, I've looked my whole life to find these things, and it's the only frozen Coke machine from 1969 that I've been able to put my hands on, so I picked it up.
Oh, so here's the question: does it work?
I highly doubt it.
Do you try to make any of these things work?
Yeah, a lot of the vending machines will work. That particular one is very complicated. All the frozen drinks are very complicated, so I'm certain it doesn't work, but I'm certain it worked really well at one time.
Now in Atlanta, they have the Coca-Cola Museum, obviously. What is the difference between this place and say that?
So one big difference when you walk into the Coca-Cola Museum in Atlanta, first of all, they're owned by the Coca-Cola Company. So there's some things that they're going to tell you and some things that they're not about their history. You know, they're like any major company. Sometimes they try to rewrite history a little bit. They don't really own up to all their history, but here you'll hear all their history. We have an exhibit here that talks about all the companies that Coca-Cola sued out of business. All the companies that tried to copyright their logos or their bottles or whatever else, and we have a whole display here dedicated to showing those products off.
Wow.
And Coca-Cola is not going to do that. Another thing, you walk into the World of Coke in Atlanta, which is a beautiful museum. You pay your $35, $40 to get in, and you see this beautiful leaded glass globe when you walk in from the 1890s. And while I'd love to have that $500,000 piece, there's no one that's going to walk into the museum that says, I remember that globe, because they're long gone. And what you will see here is you'll see things that bring you back to your own childhood. I'm a kid of the 80s, and we have a large Max Headroom display here. You're not going to find Max Headroom at the World of Coca-Cola in Atlanta, but you're going to find it here. You're going to find a Max Headroom skateboard and several other Max Headroom things of people that my age can relate to.
That's awesome. So how do they find you, and how much does it cost to come here?
So the museum itself is a $10 donation to the Museum of Soda History. It's a nonprofit, 501c3 tax-deductible donation. So they can come here to downtown St. Charles, next door to Tony's Restaurant, 126 North Main. You can find us on Facebook, and our web presence is still yet to come fully around.
Oh, okay. And it costs $10 donation.
It's a $10 donation to come in.
So could we could you show us around?
Sure.
Let's see the well, let's start with downstairs.
Sure. Downstairs is a full arcade that is kind of separate from the museum. The arcade, all the games are set for free play. So once you're down here with a $15 admission, all the games are free to play. If you do both the museum and the arcade, it's a $20 donation.
Holy cow, the first thing that comes to my, I think of Back to the Future kind of, old diners, and you have all that lined up right here. And you got an old shuffleboard table, and all of these cool, retro games. Have you ever been to the Pinball Museum in Las Vegas?
I have.
Yeah, they have a lot of this kind of stuff. And all of these games work, I guess. And you have an old bowling game.
Yep, we actually use a ball to bowl, and it returns the ball to you.
Now, do you sell food or drinks?
We do. We have a snack bar here in the basement. We sell pizza and chicken wings and pretzels with cheese and nachos with cheese and snack bar type foods.
And this looks like a great space, where you could just have parties.
A lot of birthday party rentals, we have a lot of Christmas parties here. So yeah, parties of all ages.
Boy, do you have some old pinball machines. This one here really gets my eye. Gangbusters. What year was this game?
That's about 1961.
61.
Yep.
61, and what year are these two pinball machines?
60s and 70s. The Gottlieb Bowling Queen here is from the 1960s, and Hee Haw is from the 1970s.
Yep, and Gottlieb is a company no longer in business.
That's correct.
And then you've got hockey.
We've got the bubble hockey, we've got the air hockey.
And then there's the snack bar.
There's the snack bar.
So this is really cool, but this, what is this? A place to put your empties? So oh, look over there. All the sodas are in bottles when I was a kid in the 70s.
Yeah, we have 91 different bottled sodas here. We don't have kind of the what I call the weird stuff. We don't have, turkey and gravy soda and mashed potatoes and gravy soda, but we have all the vintage brands. So Moxie, Cheerwine, Dad's Root Beer, all the different root beers. I think we have 11 different root beers here. But they're all old brands that actually existed back in the day. Yeah,
that's awesome. I had a friend named Steve DeBellis, and he used to have this magazine called St. Louis Inquirer. It was where history repeats itself.
Uh-huh.
And he reprinted, republished Lemp beer.
Okay.
But he was into all this vintage stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay, so let's check out the museum.
Yep, we can go upstairs this way, and
yeah, this is really cool. So let me ask you a question. What is your favorite soda, since you're a soda expert?
Well, back when I was able to drink soda, pre-diabetes, I would say it was probably Werner's Ginger Ale.
Werner's Ginger Ale.
It's a pretty strong ginger soda, and
but when it comes to Pepsi and Coke, do you have a preference there? Because it seems like most of your stuff is Coca-Cola.
Yeah, I mean, Coca-Cola did the most advertising over the years, but Yeah, if I were to take a drink of choice, it would probably be a Coke. Although I do like cherry Pepsi quite a bit.
And so what are these, like coolers that they would have sold?
Yeah, they were considered picnic coolers. So back in the day, you could take your family out on a little picnic. Doesn't really happen much anymore, but just the weight of the cooler is pretty extreme. These are all steel or heavy aluminum coolers, and you pack that thing full of ice, pack it full of glass soda bottles and your sandwiches, and lug that thing out to a park to go enjoy a picnic.
Now, do you ever do tours here where like you walk them through?
Yeah, we do. For groups. If we have a group that's already done a reservation, then we do. I do offer personalized.
So I'm assuming you know the whole history of.
I do.
Everything related to soda.
It's all useless information up here.
St. Louis. What is St. Louis's history with soda? Because we had Vess.
Yeah, we had Vess, Whistle, and also 7-Up started in St. Louis.
7-Up started here?
It did, and it eventually, left its headquarters left here, but partnered up with 7-Up and Dr. Pepper, and Schweppes now owns all the brands. But 7-Up history is here.
What soda is still made here?
Physically actually made here is probably Fitz's. Fitz's is one of the only other sodas that's still actually manufactured here in St. Louis.
And do you get a kick out of, for people who have never heard of Fitz's, it's an incredible root beer.
Yes, it's very good.
And they have a restaurant in the Del Mar Loop.
Correct.
Where you can eat, and then they have giant windows where you see it getting bottled.
See all the bottling line, yeah.
And that's pretty cool. Do you like that place?
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah, Fitz's is great. We sell almost all of their products here. So they have a wide range of products, not just their root beer, but cream sodas and grapes and orange pop and all kinds of great sodas.
So that's like a real good combination between your place and theirs.
Absolutely.
Synergy there.
Yes.
And so then I see that you have like a lot of old soda machines.
Yep, lots of machines starting about 1910 all the way around to about 1980. We start with some of the earliest stuff, some old wooden coolers and things that were basically made one at a time, all the way around to the mass-produced items.
And when you see a movie like Back to the Future, and you see movies like from that era, these are the kinds of things you would see in those, like what they call malt shops and stuff.
Yeah, soda fountains and malt shops, those types of things. I will say that some of the items here you would have seen in the Starsky and Hutch movie. We did all the props for the Starsky and Hutch movie, the hand props. So all the bottles and cans and those types of things that you saw in that movie were all vintage items that we supplied for Warner Brothers.
And like they're all right up there.
There they are.
But let me ask you a question. Like, when you look at stuff like this, because I know people like to buy these and put them in their homes.
Right.
What is something like these worth?
They all range drastically in price. Things are based on not only rarity, but also what type of bottle can be dispensed out of it. So the super old machines like this one here, it will only vend the small, short 6.5 ounce Coke bottle. So it's not a real versatile machine. And it's not really something someone would put in their home today. But this one is a pre-World War II machine, so it's particularly rare. So that would be more of a collector, more so than a homeowner. But on the other side over here, you get a little bit more of the machines that folks would want in their home. Part of the reason is because they would hold things like long neck beer bottles or the various soda items. These are all still single selection machines. When you get down to this guy here, you can open the door, you can pull out a soda or a beer of any kind.
I knew a guy, and he had a bunch of these, and he sold them, and he said when he was a kid, they would open those up and put their mouth under the cap, and then so that's what did in like that style, I would assume.
Yeah, I've heard lots of people say they'd put a bottle opener here and put a cup here and try to catch all the drink as it came out. Another popular thing was one of these machines down here. This is known as a slider. This particular one's not in great shape, but it held by the bottle cap. It held by the neck of the bottle, and a lot of folks would pop it with a bottle opener and put a straw in it and drain the soda out.
And that's the end of it.
Then they don't use these machines anymore.
Has Coca-Cola always been like, for the collector world of soda, like I guess the kingpin?
I mean, they made the most stuff. So there's some things. In Pepsi that are worth more than Coke. So certain Pepsi machines are worth more than certain Coke machines.
What is the holy grail of like, this, like if you could get this,
there's kind of a holy grail of each segment of collecting. There's a holy grail serving tray, there's a holy grail calendar. There's a Holy Grail vending machine. So there's a lot.
Do you have a Holy Grail vending machine?
I do.
Is it here in this?
It is.
Which one is it?
Well, we're not going to point it out.
You're not going to point it out? Okay.
I don't need the whole world coming in here and trying to get a hold of it. But soda machine collectors will know it when they see it.
They'll know when they see it.
Absolutely.
Okay. Is the Pepsi machines, because I know you have like a lot fewer of them.
Yeah.
Are they worth more than the Coca-Colas because they're harder to get?
So this example here, this Pepsi here and this Coke are virtually the same machine. I mean, they both would serve 81 bottles. They were both basically the same machine. That Pepsi machine brings about 3 times what the Coca-Cola machine does, just due to its rarity. And so, that would be a comparison of kind of apples to apples. Now this machine here may appear to the common everyday person as being a Pepsi machine. However, you may notice that there is a little red paint that's kind of coming through.
Yeah.
And back here behind this, it does say have a Coke, just like this one does.
You're right.
And this was one that Pepsi took over in the 1950s and made into a Pepsi machine. So you'll see inside here, right back here, you'll see embossed Coca-Cola.
Yeah, I see
because
that.
it's actually a Coke machine.
You know what's
Pepsi just took it and put their sign over it.
You know what's really wild is that you could get a milk
Yes.
from a vending machine.
Absolutely.
Now, I'm assuming that's not controlled by Coke or Pepsi.
It was not. It was made by the Vendo company, which made primarily soda machines. But that was put in schools, and for a nickel or a dime, depending on what age the machine was put in for, you'd be able to pick out either your chocolate milk or your regular milk.
Now, do you ever try to restore any of these?
I don't restore anything here. I just try to find the cleanest, oldest originals that I can. I'm a little bit more of a purist. I understand people restore them, and that's great. If you're going to put it in your living room, you obviously don't want it to leak all over your carpet. But for here, I'm a little bit more of an originalist or a purist.
And then I see you just have like a lot of bottles and toys.
Yeah, and there's 2 more floors going up, so there's a lot more here.
All right, can we see the second floor?
Sure, let's head up there.
Now, this is the kind of place like where you would literally spend hours like checking everything out.
You certainly could.
Because there's so much stuff to see.
As we go by, these are all stadium carriers.
I kind of got that.
Things
yeah.
that stadium vendors would carry around the stadiums all the way back into the 1920s. So this one here is a 1920s version. It held the bottle, and this held the straws. And then this guy here would hold your sodas here and your peanuts and your Cracker Jacks up front.
That's crazy.
So, but yeah, those are all stadium displays. I'm going to have a baseball display here in March when we kick off baseball season. Up front, we'll have in our front window that's currently all the Santas will be baseball stuff by then.
All baseball?
Yep.
So I'm assuming, I mean, Coca-Cola and the Cardinals have been pretty much at the hip.
Since 1966, they've been the official soft drink of the St. Louis Cardinals. But I'll tell you, that carrier down there that I showed you with the bottles and the straws, that was in the St. Louis ballpark in the 1920s.
You have a lot of vintage signs, and then you have like a bar. Do you serve alcohol here as well as?
We do have a full liquor license. This is usually for events. It's an event space that folks can rent for either parties, just like the basement, or we had a large Anheuser-Busch Christmas party here.
And you have this.
Yes.
World champion Clydesdale team. Now, does that, like when you plug it in, they go around in circles?
It does, yes.
Look at that. That's really cool. Is that something that's really hard to get?
That's pretty tough. A lot of the bars in the 60s and 70s and 80s would have those in the corner, but they're exceedingly hard to find.
I would imagine, because people don't know these are going to be collector's items, and
but yeah, I mean,
they just throw them away.
That's correct. Most of the things that are worth something are things that weren't made to be collected. So they were made to be played with in the way of toys, or made to be used in some way.
Now, speaking of alcohol, I'm just guessing one of the drinks you have is Jack and Coke?
We do have Jack Daniels here.
Jack and Coke, right?
Jack and
It has to be Jack and Coke.
It does. I don't know why you'd have anything else with it.
Now, is there a difference for a Jack and Coke whether you use Pepsi or Coke, or is it the same?
Well, a Jack and Coke is Jack and Coke, so that would be the difference.
Coke is Pepsi's a little sweeter.
It is a little sweeter. Coke has a little bit more of a syrupy, a little bit heavier taste to it. Just depends what you're looking for.
Do you have a section devoted to the new Coke that everybody hated?
If we do, yes. Down in one of the aisles on the other side, we do.
Yeah, I remember that when I was a kid. Everybody was like, they did not like that.
Well, and ironically, it tasted like Pepsi. But what Coca-Cola, I guess, didn't realize at the time and has now since figured out is people weren't buying Coca-Cola necessarily because of the taste of it. They were buying it because it's America, it's American history, and Coca-Cola is America. And then when they changed the taste and actually became sweeter and tasted more like Pepsi, people would take a sip of it, and it wasn't what they were expecting. And,
what's really weird about St. Louis is St. Louis is a Pepsi town.
Sure.
They sell more Pepsi than Coke.
Yes, they do.
And even though the Cardinals are associated with the
Right.
Coca-Cola, Pepsi is the number one brand in St. Louis.
It has
I wonder,
been for a number of years. I haven't checked the numbers recently, but in the past, that's been the case.
but overall, Pepsi is the bigger company by far, right?
In St. Louis.
No, I'm saying like nationally, Pepsi is
Because they're PepsiCo, because they're Taco Bell, they're KFC, they're a lot more than just soft
Fritos
drinks.
and
Sure.
Frito-Lay, and I think they own Quaker Oats.
Yeah, they may.
And then they also bought Gatorade.
Correct.
Do you have anything devoted to Gatorade?
I have a couple of original Gatorade bottles. Here in the museum is only about 35% of my collection, so the Gatorade bottles aren't here, but they look like a soda bottle.
Do you know the history of Gatorade?
I don't know the whole history.
Yeah, it was called Gatorade because it was the Florida Gator football team
Right.
wanted something to keep them hydrated, so they made that formula, and then they started drinking it. That's why it's called Gator Aid
Yeah.
to aid
To aid
the
the Gators.
football
Yeah.
Gators. Yeah, but that Gatorade is just nobody. I mean, that's huge.
Absolutely.
That whole segment.
Correct.
And so then here it's just like there's so much stuff here. You
So
can't.
this is Smile Soda. This was a St. Louis-based product. It was very popular in the 20s through the 40s.
What happened to it?
It got overtaken by folks with bigger advertising budgets. This is all a St. Charles shelf here. So Zeisler Soda Company out of St. Charles, and Big Boy was here in St. Charles. There's some St. Charles stuff and Smile
Is
and
Vess still a company?
Absolutely, yeah.
They still make. Were they national or were they just regional?
I don't know that they were coast to coast, but they were definitely all throughout the whole Midwest.
Let me ask you a question. What is your favorite Coca-Cola marketing campaign, and what's your favorite Pepsi marketing campaign?
It's if you go with more modern stuff from the '80s. Obviously, Max Headroom was a big one. Catch the wave, and then in the 1988 elections, the presidential election, they did a promotion called "The Elections in the Can," and it was Max Headroom was quote unquote running for president. And there's a lot of people that joked at the time that you may be able to elect Max Headroom as president. And that may be the case again today. I'm not sure.
Do you remember that promotion? I think it was Pepsi did, where you could win a jet.
Yeah.
A Harrier jet.
Yes.
And you could win like all kinds of crazy stuff, and some guy actually tried to win it, and then he
Yes.
sued Pepsi.
Yep. I've watched the documentary on it. It's
Do you have stuff?
pretty interesting.
Would
I don't
you-
have anything from that promotion.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was definitely a unique one.
Yeah, that actually made a Netflix documentary on
Yeah.
it. It was
I've seen
insane.
it. It's something.
Look at all these cups.
Yep. Test taste cups and fountain cups and
And then you
sport
have
stuff. Lots of toys and trucks over the years.
And I think Coca-Cola dominates the whole Americana toy market.
Absolutely. These were all 1940s toys done by Milton Bradley, done for Coca-Cola in the 1940s. So they, obviously had their name on everything.
And you've just been collecting this forever.
Forever, yes.
And here's,
Playing cards.
yeah, I think Coca-Cola is more of the collector.
There's a lot of Coca-Cola collectors out there.
Yeah.
A lot of people, will fix up a kitchen or a room in their house with Coca-Cola stuff. A lot more so than people will with Pepsi stuff, but there's still a very active Pepsi collecting community too.
Is there anything like you don't have that you want to try to find and buy?
I mean, I think there's 2 or 3 vending machines I don't have yet in the collection pre 1960, but I don't know that I'll ever find them.
But in the, like, I'm sure like all you guys know each other. There's like Facebook groups where people
Sure.
are collecting Coca-Cola stuff and whatever.
Absolutely.
Do you become like, you go right to the top 5 because you open the store?
I have one of the larger collections. There's no question. I think it's the second largest museum of soft drink memorabilia out there, second to the World of Coke in Atlanta. But we offer all the drinks. We're not just one.
Do you have people coming from all over the?
Absolutely. We've had folks from Georgia come up. I had some folks from Florida come up specifically just to tour the museum.
Did you have anybody from Pepsi and Coke come here?
I have invited both Pepsi and Coke executives to come. They have not yet.
Wow. I'm sure they will.
I think they will. I think definitely the Coca-Cola guy over in Kansas City is going to come by.
And their Sprite, geez, like it's all green.
Yes.
Everything's green.
Yes.
You know what's interesting to me is Pepsi has overtaken Coke as the most popular Coca-Cola, right, in the United States. But like they have never been able to touch Sprite.
No.
And they've tried it 50 times.
They played with Team, which was their original lemon lime product. They went to Sierra Mist for a while. Now they're doing this Starry thing, but none of that's ever going to measure up to Sprite.
It's never going to work.
It'll never work.
And I taste it, and it's terrible. And, and Sprite, if you want that lemon lime,
absolutely,
it's always going to be Sprite.
It will.
It's never going to be anything else but Sprite.
It certainly isn't going to be Starry.
And then Pepsi has Mountain Dew.
They do.
And so if you ask me, and I'm just asking you because you're the expert, like you have Coke versus Pepsi.
Sure.
But I think Mountain Dew is versus Sprite. Would that be accurate?
I mean, the Coke product that is their citrus beverage is Mellow Yellow, but it doesn't have the traction, obviously, that something like Mountain Dew has. But that's their attempt, the Coca-Cola's attempt at a Mountain Dew is Mellow Yellow.
Now, when it comes to Dr. Pepper, Pepsi has what, Mr. Pibb?
Coke has Mr. Pibb.
Coke has Mr. Pibb.
Yep.
And then does Pepsi have something for Dr. Pepper?
So they had Slice for a while.
Okay.
And they had a Dr. Slice. So they had all the different flavors of Slice. That was another one of their attempts at a lemon lime drink. But it was everything. So it was Mandarin Orange Slice. They actually made an apple slice at one time. It was very short-lived because a lot of grade school kids figured out that you could leave it sit outside.
How does Mr. Pibb... How does Mr. Pibb stack up to Dr. Pepper? Is it not even close?
It's not close, no. It's very good, but it's no longer Mr. Pibb. It's now Pibb Extra. So they've done away with the Mr. part of it, I guess because they didn't have a Mrs. Pibb, so I guess they just have to have Pibb.
So let me ask you this question, because I think a lot of people would want to know this. Who's bigger, Sprite or 7-Up?
Probably Sprite.
By how much?
I haven't looked at the numbers, but I mean, being that Sprite is I mean, they're both international products now, but Sprite's just been around other countries a lot longer now.
But 7-Up used to be like almost as big as like Coke and...
Sure, 7-Up was a big company back in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. But the advertising budget for Coca-Cola has always been the largest of any soda company. And
so you think like 7-Up 7-Up had to be like by far the number one lemon lime drink.
Absolutely, in the 30s and 40s, absolutely.
And then how long did it take Sprite to take them over?
Sprite was introduced in 1964. So Sprite started in Texas as a bottler's drink. So a lot of local bottlers will do their own flavors of things. So they're actually Sprite was orange Sprite, grape Sprite. Was the bottler's kind of miscellaneous beverage. And then Coca-Cola took them over in 1964 and made it just a lemon lime drink.
So does 7-Up, is it owned by Dr. Pepper?
Now it is, I believe. They've gone around. It's actually Cadbury Schweppes, I believe, owns the whole conglomerate. But Dr. Pepper is still based in Texas. Great museum down there in Waco, and they have a lot of really neat stuff in there.
It seemed like if Pepsi was trying to compete with Sprite, they would have just bought 7-Up.
They probably could have,
because the brand is strong.
Pepsi was in bankruptcy in 1930, and Coca-Cola could have bought Pepsi, and they decided that they were just going to let the company fail on its own. So, we all make mistakes.
In terms of soda sales, what are the top 5 brands?
I mean, Coca-Cola and Pepsi will always be in the top 2. Mountain Dew has been, at least in the United States, a very, very high brand. But overseas, one of the highest brands is Fanta, which is a Coca-Cola product. But they have all the different Fanta flavors that we don't even have here in the United States. And so Fanta overseas is a very, very big brand. So a lot of the soda companies are focusing a lot on overseas stuff now, all throughout Europe and especially Germany, big soda market there. So But United States is always going to probably be Coke, Pepsi, Mountain Dew, and just generic.
What would be number 4?
Probably just a generic root beer, so not a specific.
Not Dr. Pepper?
Dr. Pepper would be up there. I mean, for a long time it was one of my drinks of choice, but now it's all the zeros.
So Dr. Pepper, would it be like bigger than Mountain Dew or not as big as Mountain Dew?
I mean, Dr. Pepper as a company would probably exceed Mountain Dew.
I'm talking about just the sales of Dr. Pepper versus Mountain Dew.
I would guess that Dr. Pepper would exceed it.
So you're saying Dr. Pepper would be the 3rd most popular soda?
Yeah, I mean, that's an opinion, but yeah.
And then probably Mountain Dew, and then
Probably
what
something
after
like
that?
Mountain
Maybe
Dew.
Sprite?
Yeah, Sprites are always big, but you know, you really have to take into account a worldwide market these days. And so it's hard to say whenever you're talking.
And then you got Sunkissed, orange, and grape.
Yeah, here's some of the new Coke products that they came out with in 1985. We still have an original 16-ounce bottle pack that was unopened.
Wow.
With all the original bottles and wrapper all still in it.
And you have all this.
These were from the National Association of Soft Drinks. They would have an annual convention where they would have all the different soft drink companies come.
Is there some kind of like big show for this kind of stuff somewhere in the country?
So there's bottle shows throughout the country and throughout the world. These are all foreign bottles. These are all Coca-Cola foreign bottles from all over the world. And you can see that a lot of these are written in other languages. But yeah, there's bottle shows throughout the Midwest and throughout the whole United States, and then there's an annual Coca-Cola convention that's held in different cities and states each year. So.
Well, thanks for showing us. I mean, is that the whole thing, or?
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of other stuff, but yeah, I mean that's the gist of it.
And then tell them how to get in touch with you again.
So sodamuseum.com is our website. Currently under construction, but coming again soon. I had it up for about 15 or 20 years under a different idea, but it'll be for this museum.
I mean, you have like tons of places to sit down and drink. Now, you know, one of the things, if I was suggesting something, is I think you ought to like have hand dipped, root beer floats and stuff like that. Ice cream.
We do offer ice cream down in the snack bar.
Oh, you do? Do you make root beer floats?
Only vanilla, but yes, we make root beer floats and,
and Coke
floats and Dr. Pepper floats and everything else, and all of those soft drinks we have in the bottle with pure cane sugar. So.
Holy cow. That sounds awesome. Like, this is just come here and learn all about it.
Absolutely.
And we appreciate you showing us. And it's come to Main Street.
Come to Main Street,
right?
in St. Charles. There's all kinds of things to do every week of the day, every week of the year.
And you can even get an alcoholic beverage.
You can as well.
Jack and Coke. And for those who don't know, Budweiser is probably the biggest. When you're talking about like something you could drink. St. Louis is famous for
absolutely
Budweiser.
Wish it was still a St. Louis product.
Well,
but we'll still act like it is.
They still say St. Louis on the advertising.
They absolutely do.
And then the biggest brewery in the world is still here.
That's correct.
But yes, Budweiser. So there you have it. Come on down here to Main Street. It's a wonderful place to come. And man, if you are a Route 66 fan, this is the place to come. Because like you could just spend hours and hours and hours and hours in here and looking at all of this stuff and playing all the vintage arcades. And until next time, make sure you like and subscribe to the page. And we're gonna just keep documenting really cool places to visit here in St. Louis.